Hello again, my name is Emmitt and today we're going to be talking to you about counterplans. You may be asking, what is a counterplan? Who can use it? Can the affirmative use a counterplan? Could the negative use a counterplan? Today we're going to be discussing what a counterplan is. First and foremost, a counterplan is a negative off case, meaning that the negative can use this in any round. Meaning if the affirmative has an affirmative plan. So it's simply an alternative to the affirmative's plan. And the clear-cut definition of a counterplan is policy that is supported by the negative team, which competes with the affirmative's plan. Simply, it's an alternative. This is another option you can choose. It's like giving the judge, it's like saying, judge, here's their plan, but we have a better plan that you can choose from. And remember that a counterplan is supposed to be more beneficial than the affirmative's plan, because as the negative, you're pitching an idea to the judge that the counterplan solves better than the affirmative's plan. And now we're going to go on to the parts of a counterplan. First and foremost, the number one thing you must have in a counterplan is a counterplan text. This distinguishes your plan, the negative's counterplan, from the affirmative's plan. You want to make sure that these two plans are not related, so the other team could say, well, hey, this is just like our plan. You want to have that big distinction between the two. And so having a counterplan text is simply like having a plan text as the affirmative. It's like the United States federal government should, and you can go on with a counterplan text. And the next thing in a counterplan text you must have are evidence. It's like when you have an affirmative plan, you have the plan text in the affirmative's plan, and then you have evidence. You will have evidence behind that as well. And then there's something called net benefits in a counterplan. And net benefits are clearly the plan alone is more beneficial than the plan plus the counterplan. And just to break that down, simply saying is that there is a disadvantage to the affirmative's plan that the counterplan solves, which makes the counterplan better than the affirmative's plan. And just repeating, it's simply saying that there's a disadvantage for the affirmative, but the counterplan solves that. And going to what a counterplan needs to have, what the requirements a counterplan must have in order to be competitive in a round. First and foremost, a counterplan should have something to do with the issue raised by the affirmative's plan. And what I mean by this is that your plan has to go along with the affirmative's plan. Meaning that if the affirmative's plan is solving for world hunger, and your counterplan text does not solve for world hunger, and it's trying to solve for more money in education, those are two different ideas that are solving for two different things. So, because the affirmative plan sets the stage, this is what we want to solve, but as a negative, we can solve it better doing this plan, but the affirmative team can come around and say that your plan has nothing to do to solve poverty. Your plan is just solving about increasing funding in education. So those are two different things. It has to be solving the same thing, but they can have two different ideas. And also, your counterplan text does not have to be topical, meaning it doesn't have to go along with the resolution. Meaning if this year's resolution is about immigration, and if we're trying to solve immigration through the immigration system, as the affirmative plan is going to, we can solve the immigration system through education, through educating these people. Those are two different ways of trying to solve the immigration problem. One is through education, and one is through the immigration system. And so that's